I think what I constantly am striving to do is to bring joy, simplicity, and peace of mind to those around me. And that comes through, lifestyle, job, finances, relationships. There's a lot of aspects of I guess my perspectives that I like to introduce to other people. Like I was talking to my friend on the phone yesterday, and he's talking about getting a new job, but he's dreading. And it's like, dude, you love your life right now. Like you get so much freedom. Like, is that promotion really worth the stress that you're going to be feeling? Is that extra money you're going to make worth it for the activity, the hiking and skiing that you're not going to be able to do?
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Mpomonsu, and our goal and mission with this show is to introduce you to stories of young people across the globe who we believe are the next generation of thought leaders in their respective fields. Additionally, we aim to share with you ideas and concepts that you can implement to elevate both your business and personal life. Right, I'm quite excited about this next guest on the podcast because not only am I inspired by his story, but moved by his character and just his willingness to give his time to help others, which I believe is really a testament of his true character to his truest core. As a Babson student, I've seen much of his videos in my accounting classes, in my FME classes, and really inspired by just his willingness to give back to the community and really inspired by that character. He's formerly known as Hanson Grant, who is the founder and CEO of Thinkboard, a startup that aims to help its users and customers accomplish their goal, enhance their collaboration, and express their creativity. What's amazing about Hanson's journey is that it started off in his college dorm in his sophomore year at Babson College and has now turned into his post-grad full-time job. That being said, he is a graduate of Babson College, where he acquired his degree in Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration and Entrepreneurship. So part of me truly feels like I am following in the right footsteps. On that note, think of the upcoming Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, or perhaps even the notable Babson alum, Mr. Arthur Blank. Think of Hanson Grant and the work that he's doing with Thinkboard. Without any further ado, Hanson, thank you so much for joining us here at the Leaders Podcast.
Thanks for having me. And thanks for that pretty epic introduction.
It is indeed to some extent, Hanson, to be honest, I'm a freshman at Babson, and it's amazing how I've come across your name so many times, you know what I'm saying? Being in accounting, being in FME, and I thought that, before we even delve into your work and then what Thinkboard and your journey with Thinkboard, I was just genuinely interested and curious about, how you've been navigating this time, the pandemic, on a personal level, but also in a business perspective. How's it been for you? Definitely.
So it's been a roller coaster. It's felt way more like an emotional roller coaster. However, if I tell you everything I did, then you'll be like, that just sounds amazing. So what was interesting, I'll try to keep this short because this could last an entire hour. The last year of my life. But I started the pandemic in Malaysia. I was overseas for 2 months working remote.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is I came back in early March. And so I got to see the beginning few weeks of the pandemic take shape over there. And I got to witness how a country who had dealt with SARS in the past was dealing with COVID now. And the way they approached it with the face masks and hand sanitizer and distancing, everything was better in February than even what we're doing now.
Yeah.
So I came back to the US in March and I was like, what's going on? There's a global pandemic that's about to hit and we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So really quickly, Ken, my business partner, and I, we started putting out blog content about how to take your home space and make it like a remote office, and how to take your company and make it a remote team, because like we've been remote for 7 years. So we just started pumping out this content. People were like, why? And then like literally a week later, Governor Cuomo in New York was like, no more work starting Monday. And it was Friday. And we're like, oh, perfect. Like, unfortunately, but like perfect timing, because like we saw this coming. So then after the blogs, we started pumping out content around like a teacher, like teach from home, learn from home deal. And we discounted our best-selling product down to $15 and bundled it together that if they bought 3, they'd get free shipping. And we ended up making this like super social push that ended up being profitable, because most people ended up buying 3. It was break even at 1 with shipping and whatnot. But like, that was like such a huge initiative that like got this huge wave of traffic up. And what that did for our business was it converted inventory to cash, because I know we're about to go into something big and we want cash. We don't want to just be sitting on this inventory and like have all these expenses. So we had this huge social push, which was awesome, really good in the light of, you know, our customers, helped us profitability wise. And then we also were on this big wave of like, okay, now what? And customers started reaching out and saying, hey, you make clear plastic whiteboards. Can you make clear plastic face shields? And we're like, yeah, we probably could. So we reached out to our manufacturers and they're like, yeah, like we could take off the adhesive, thicken this up. So we ended up making about 6,000 face shields over the course of the next month and a half. And it was just me, my sister, her boyfriend, my mom, my brother, his girlfriend, my dad, like all of us would just like go in and make face shields like a few hours a day. And it was nuts. And it was fun. And we helped 6,000 nurses, doctors, dentists, you name it. And then Thinkboard continued to do well because of that, because we kept sending emails about relevant things we were doing. So all of that was amazing. And then we doubled down on our partnership with Rocketbook, which is a scannable notebook. We've got a scannable whiteboard version. So we doubled down on that partnership, introduced the Thinkboard 2.0, or like reintroduced it, the Thinkboard X2. And then we got a massive order from a Fortune 500 company. I don't know if I could share the name yet, so I won't, but 10,000 employees all wanted a custom Thinkboard. So we took us a month to produce that order because they're super customized. All this crazy stuff was happening. And then my lease ended in Boston at the end of December, and my friends and I booked an Airbnb in Colorado for January. My best friend from high school moved to Utah and then said, hey, do you want to come? And so I went there for February and was just on this skiing vacation, like work remote ski. And then the last month and a half was in Lake Tahoe skiing out there and working part-time as a ski instructor, just for fun. And now I'm back east for a few weeks, and then I'm heading back out west to do a road trip with my mom for a few weeks.
You really sound like in many ways you've been living your best life. And then I think it's really amazing how at the cusp of a pandemic, you know, when you expected businesses to be hitting a dip, that you saw that as an opportunity to upscale. I think it's you know, I think entrepreneurship at its truest core is the ability to do that, right? To navigate and to lead in really trying times.
Definitely. But we downscaled first. We said, okay, like I've always been into personal finance a lot. And I always have a model of the business that's like a recession business model. So it's like, all right, we'll turn off this, we'll turn down that, we'll turn off this, we'll reduce our salaries. Like everything is. So like we put that plan in action on like March 5th or something. And so it's like, all right. And again, there was like 7 cases in the US then. So we recession proofed the business first. And then we're like, now we're here. How do we help? And what was cool is I also helped my family business quite a bit as well during that. But I told you it doesn't sound as much of a roller coaster when I tell you the story of it, but oh my gosh. I mean, having that perspective and then dealing with trying to communicate that perspective to not only my family, but my friends and customers, like this is real, like this is happening, like buckle up, was very emotionally draining and challenging to always be the one that was reminding people that this is like a thing. And looking at the graphs in March and being like, we're getting like 200 cases a day. Like this could jump up to like 10,000. And they're like, no. So yeah. It's funny. It's funny now in hindsight, but difficult in the moment. So that's the pandemic for me. And vaccinated now because I worked at Squaw. Teaching kids how to ski and snowboard 3 to 13. So I was dealing with like snot and boogers all day. And so California was like, you get the vaccine. So, so I'm clear now, but it was rough.
This episode is sponsored by our parent company, The Leaders Network, which is the parent company of the Leaders Podcast. The Leaders Network is an ecosystem of products and services designed to democratize the finding and execution of purpose. It has and therefore has 4 different subsidiaries, which include the Leaders Journal, the Leaders Podcast, Function Photography, and Function Brand Development Services, which are all members who are actively changing the landscape and also ensuring that we are building a network of purpose-conscious individuals who will take on some of the greatest challenges faced by humanity. That being said, my friends, head out to our website at www.theleadersnetwork.net for more information on how you can be part of our team, be on our platforms, or perhaps even donate to our community of purpose-driven entities, or even have access to our services offered by our subsidiary. Click the link below for more information about the work that they're doing and how they are actively changing the landscape. Enjoy the episode. And which kind of speaks to, in my research, as I've been preparing for your episode, one thing that you said in one of I think was a post posted by one of Babson's articles. You said something that really stuck with me when you are like, we have to be willing to lean into the risks and discomfort of every situation. And then it really stuck with me. And I was really interested in you really talking to me about what were you experiencing? Was this at the height of the pandemic, that really had you articulating this? Because it really stuck with me and really interested in what's on your mind. Yeah.
So that was in your accounting class?
Yes. In my accounting class,
talking. Yeah. Yeah, so we were talking about the face shields. I think everything was going well at that time.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling motivated that lean into it. And actually, I'll speak to a more recent learning than that specific moment because it's the same exact theme, just a more relevant topic for where I'm at exactly this moment. I decided when I was bouncing around in the West Coast to live in my car for however long I needed, just for fun, literally for no reason, but I'm going to plop myself right here and just do that because that sounds like a really cool adventure.
Yeah.
And what I found out was it was very uncomfortable. It was not just sleeping in a car is uncomfortable, but just emotionally, it was just a big drastic shift in my life that I was like, wow, I don't know if I like this. I was also okay, well, I'm skiing at the ski mountain that's my favorite one in the world. I'm working on the business, everything's going super well.
Yeah.
But there was a part of me that needed to feel that in order to get the next amazing situation, which I ended up, posting on Facebook saying, hey, currently living in my car, kind of would like a bed or a shower, don't necessarily need one, just kind of feeling what's out there.
Yeah.
And because I was comfortable enough to be in that uncomfortable situation, I ended up finding these 2 incredible people who I roomed with for the last month and a half. They're now some of my best friends. They're we went skiing every day together, hiking and backcountry skiing, and just had an incredible time together. But that would never have happened if I was feeling oh, I need to plan this before I get to Tahoe. I should look in Craigslist and find some random roommate just so I have a room.
Yeah.
So it was because I was able to go all the way to one direction of wow, I'm going to be living in my car indefinitely.
Yeah.
Until I find something.
Yeah.
I was able to swing the other way and be wow, I found something that's so amazing and it's worth doing. So leaning into that discomfort is definitely a powerful state of mind, because then, it allows you to kind of step back a little. And that's probably how I was feeling when I said that in the pandemic, of like, it is it's uncomfortable to start a business, to post on Facebook, hey, I'm selling these plastic whiteboards. That's my livelihood. Support it. Like that is uncomfortable. And I did feel uncomfortable with that as a sophomore at Babson, because I thought I should start the next Uber, but everybody was like, this thing's cool. And I was like, yeah, it is. But like, why do I feel uncomfortable standing behind this product as if it's my own? I mean, it is.
Yeah.
But like, I wanted to start something bigger. And I think the social pressure at Babson and just in general made me feel like selling a stick-on whiteboard wasn't enough. But I was leaning into that discomfort. And then, here I am now. So like, I was fine being uncomfortable with that for a moment.
Yeah.
And even graduating, even, making thousands of dollars a month on the business, I was still like, I don't know, like, is this what I should do? And so like, I think life is always that way. And you got to be able to sit with that uncomfortableness in order to get to the next level.
Which really kind of speaks true to the idea of embracing the unknown, that sometimes it's the ideal things that you want to have it all figured out, you know what I'm saying? But I think that to take faith and being in that space, you know what I'm saying, kind of in many ways opens many doors that you might not have realized were there in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So when I think about your situation and how in that stage you're living in your car, your ability to put yourself out there, right? Put it out in the universe. And for you to find the right people at the right time who then are now becoming closest friends to you, that path or that niche wouldn't have taken place had you not decided to be uncomfortable. It's kind of the beauty of being uncomfortable. On that note, taking a quick trip down memory lane, I was really interested in unpacking from the day you thought Thinkboard was an actual idea, right? Through, I'm really interested in the series of events that led you to realize that this is actually a product of value. This is something that I can actually, beyond just helping my friends at Babson, package in such a way as a product of value. Like, walk me through your thinking process and what the journey was from your sophomore year at Babson.
Definitely. So it started with, I just need a space to write down ideas for myself.
Yeah.
And so I went back to my parents' graphics shop. I grabbed some like vinyl sticker that kind of worked, and I slapped it on the wall and started using it. And with a lot of Expo spray and dry erase markers, it worked. Didn't think anything of it. I was like, this is just classic Hanson, like creating something random, super small, like solving another problem.
Yeah.
Like in high school, I had a light switch puller. So I jury rigged a fishing line from the light switch all the way to my bed. I could just like pull the light switch from bed, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
So like, to me, it was just another one of those.
Yeah.
And then I started writing business ideas down, and friends started coming to my room and like, oh, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. But like, this thing's cool. Like, can I get one of these too for my room? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll just go home and I'll get a roll of this stuff. Yeah. So I ended up making them for friends. And then friends of friends are like, hey, I saw, Soham had one. Like, can I buy one? And I'm like, yeah, sure. $20. And so like, it was really organic. Yeah. And it was really like, I'm not trying to do this. And it started out like, beer money. Like that's great. Like, we can just do it for that. And so it started picking up a little bit more momentum than that. And I said, okay, like I'll start a website just to like make this process easier. People buying them on campus. And then, so I launched the website in like one night, April 8th. So, we're officially 7 years and a week old or something at this point. And yeah, so I kind of just like I realized in that moment that I was learning a lot from the business, and I was applying a lot of the stuff I learned at Babson back to the business. So it kind of acted as this like secondary education piece that was just on the side. And so I treated it from an education standpoint. I said, what would be the next thing to learn? And I was like, a Kickstarter. Kickstarter is hot right now. It's 2014. Like, that could be something really cool to learn for my future business or whatever. So like, everything I was doing was like, how can I just build up my skills for the next thing, whatever that is. So I launched a Kickstarter, and I don't know if I really knew it at the time, but that was the moment. That was the market validation and parental validation that I needed, because from a market standpoint, it was, I'm selling this product to my friends. I don't know if they actually like it or not. But let me put this out. I'm not going to ask a single friend to back it. I'm just going to ask them to share it with their network. And that was my strategy. And I got 700 shares on Facebook, and that ended up funding the campaign in 30 days, $10,000. It was enough to do like a real run to get like a better version of the product. But what was more important than that was my mom saying, this thing's cool. Like, I like this. And my dad saying like, we've been self-employed our whole life. Like, I don't know if you can make a living selling whiteboards like this. Which totally makes sense. So I said, how about this? How about if the Kickstarter is funded, I get to run this through my junior year and junior summer. And if it's not, then I'll get an internship like every other Babson student. My dad never graduated college, so he never went through that process, and was really excited for, my brother, my sister, and I to do that more traditional route, just to at least get experience before doing something entrepreneurial. He knew we would eventually. But that was the most important thing, is like, wow, like 200 people that I don't know want this product and believe in it. And knowing that allowed me to kind of move forward, and knowing and seeing the success, again, I'm jumping forward, but seeing the success senior year before a failure of some sort, if we want to jump into that, allowed me to know that more people want this. Like, I need to fix this problem so we can move forward, because the demand's there. People love the product, and it's just a matter of, can we deliver it in the best, correct, nice packaging, good installation instructions, like best product kind of way. I think it kind of came down to the Kickstarter, and I was only, it's like product in the dorm room, September. Selling it on the website, April. That's how far that was. Wow. And then Kickstarter was in July. So pretty quick after I launched the website to jump into the Kickstarter. But also just kind of had this product for 6 months and didn't think about it, because I just liked using it.
I think listening to you reminds me of a quote by a famous entrepreneur back on the continent in Africa. His name is Fred Swanica. He owns the education conglomerate African Leadership Consulting Group. It's basically African Leadership Group. Sorry, it's an education group. And one of the quote that he said was that start young and get lots of practice if you want to be an entrepreneur. Don't dismiss the small projects that you are doing today, which kind of speaks to what you're talking about. In that case, you were a sophomore in your junior year, in your sophomore year at Babson. You kind of iffy, not sure about this, but it speaks to the importance of those small pushes, right? You are like, okay, I'm learning this. I'm seeing this as a secondary phase for me to learn, to become a better entrepreneur, where I can actually practicalize some of the theories that I'm learning in class. And over time, it just snowballs into what Thinkboard is today. So I think really interested in also, since your launch, what has been some of the biggest challenges that you have faced in your journey thus far?
Definitely. So that plays perfectly into what I was about to say. But I'll rewind for a second, and then I'll jump into that, because you mentioned starting small. And that is one of my number one recommendations for young entrepreneurs, because like, I didn't know it at the time, but when I was selling random stuff in middle school and high school, I was learning about sales and marketing and inventory and accounting before even realizing what it was. I'd probably made $5,000 or $10,000 in selling things before I even knew what the word entrepreneur was. Shark Tank wasn't a thing then, so I didn't really know this is what I was doing. And my friends in high school were like, "Oh, you're just scheming people." I was like, "I don't think so, but like, I could see why you think that." So, I mean, all those things helped me so much, and that's kind of how I viewed Thinkboard as well in the beginning. Like, I had a t-shirt company in high school, and that taught me what I needed to know for my FMA company. And that taught me what I needed to know for Thinkboard. And this is going to teach me what I need to know for the next thing. And I always say, like, if I was handed Thinkboard today, like back then, I would have been like, whoa, like, I don't know what to do with this. if I started like the next Uber, then I'd be like, I don't know what to do with this now. 27, still pretty young entrepreneur. I could start something like that. But I needed to learn everything that I did up until now in order to feel like I could do something much bigger. Biggest challenges was definitely a product failure in 2015. So things were going great. We won the Babson Beta Challenge at the end of junior year. We got into MassChallenge. We participated in that accelerator for the whole summer, mentorship, everything. We got our first sale on the grommets. So we got like a couple tens of thousands of dollar order, which was awesome. Then we launched on Amazon. We moved to a fulfillment center. Like everything was taking shape. And everything was becoming more automated and easier for me. And so I'm enjoying my senior year. We launched on Amazon Launchpad, this startup version of Amazon, and started seeing, thousands of dollars of sales. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is cool. These are not just like customers from our website that are coming to Amazon now because it's easier, new customers. So like everything's going really well. And I'm sitting there as a senior, like, wow, like maybe I should do this full time. And what's funny earlier is like, I'm making thousands of dollars a month. And like, if I took a job, I'd be making a similar amount. And I'm still like contemplating, do I do this or not? Is this worth my time or not? Because I mean, my goals at the time felt like I should just land the best thing I can do at the moment. Whereas my goals now are like, nah, like be self-employed as long as you can, as long as it's financially a responsible decision. And so everything was going super well. We were one of the best sellers on Amazon's like startup program, and everybody opened up their Thinkboards at Christmas because people were buying in Q4 for Christmas. We had 4.5-star reviews. Everything was going great. Wow. And then, it was awesome. And then people opened up their Thinkboards. And one thing we forgot to account for, rewinding a little bit, was we have about a product failure rate at the time of 5%. So 1 out of 20 boards, we'd get an email and say, hey, like this isn't working for me. Like, what should I do? And we'd be like, here, let's send you a replacement of like one with a stronger adhesive or slightly thicker or something like that. On Amazon, though, a 5% failure rate when only 1 out of 100 people leave a review means 5 out of 100 people who had a bad experience are going to leave a review. So that paired with the change in humidity, which we still hadn't figured out yet because it's winter time, it led to a lot of people complaining all at the same time, and a flood of 1-star reviews coming in and bringing the product down to a 2.5-star product by February.
Wow.
So we pulled the product in March. We were just selling on our website. We ramped everything up. So now we're losing money each month. And I'm about to walk across the stage to get my diploma. And now I'm losing money every month instead of making money. And I kind of already committed that like, this is what I'm doing. Because like all the consulting jobs in the fall kind of were gone at this point. So now I'm like, shoot, like I just committed to this project and it's not going well, but I knew that people loved the product. Like I knew that for those that it worked for, it worked well. And for those that had problems, like tell me what your problems are. And we ended up redoing the product. Finally, we ended up redoing the packaging. We redid the installation videos. We redid like literally everything. We said people are having a hard time installing it. Cool. Let's make really good installation videos and put like $1,000 or $2,000 into that just to help the product's like exploding before it gets there. Let's invest in packaging and like make really good packaging. And then of course, let's make the adhesive a little bit better so the change in humidity doesn't mess it up. And let's make the erasability better. So like, even though people didn't have issues with that, they never do, but I always like to improve that. And now people are like, wow, this is the best whiteboard we've ever used. And I'm like, yeah, because we just always up the erasability every time we do a new rendering. So the lesson from that was people do love this product if we can deliver it correctly. And so I knew it was time to really dig deep and invest in creating a better version of the business really. And that kind of led us into the most successful quarter we've almost ever had, which was the product launch of that product that fall. So things really started to take off again then. So that was definitely the hardest challenge of being a business owner for me.
And I guess I can also just imagine the impact that has on your emotional well-being, as a young person, your 20s trying to figure this out, and then having all of this, because at the time it seems like it had started to become a body of work that was really important to you, and something that you had put your name behind, and kind of seeing that dip, and then watch it happen. It's to some extent, as much as I'm guessing emotionally draining as it was, I'm guessing right now you probably look at it in hindsight and see it as a character building season in your life that in a sense does make you a better entrepreneur, but also just a better leader. And I'm really just interested, talking about your personal lessons. I really want to practicalize this to anybody who might be listening to this episode, who might not have access to spaces like Babson. Right, entrepreneurs somewhere in the US or in the world. What would be some of your core 45 lessons, you know what I'm saying, to entrepreneurs that you, on a practical level, that you feel like they can do tangibly on a day-to-day basis or in their lives to really start putting their body of work together? Like, what do you think is important? Yeah.
I mean, what I mentioned earlier was, starting small and just doing small projects. Anything like that builds skills for your future business. Build a website for a friend just because for free. You could charge them if you want, but I've built probably 100 different websites at this point. And that's awesome because that's a skill that I have that I can apply to anything. I've edited probably 300 different videos together. I've learned how to use Photoshop and Illustrator to create different logos and tweak different photos. I've, personally been excited about, accounting and finance and really starting to learn on that and join Facebook groups of people talking about certain different topics that are exciting to me. So just consistently learning those skills, but I guess my recommendation would be start some random t-shirt business or sell some widget of some sort, just so you can kind of get your hands on it and learn this is what it's like to buy 10,000 units of inventory and how stressful that is because you buy it and then you got to sell it or else you're going to be losing money. Start a website, understand what it's like to have an email capture and understand what it's like to have email marketing behind the engine trying to push people back to your website and realize how hard that is because that's not as easy as people think. Or Facebook ads. Everybody's I'll just buy this phone case and then put Facebook ads behind it and it's going to work. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads and have not been able to make it wildly profitable. But everybody's convinced that, you just start an Instagram and you start DMing people and that's how it becomes successful. Try it. If you're so convinced, then, go to Alibaba and buy, 500 of these 50-cent things and then start the Instagram and just see what that's like. A lemonade stand's where I started, and then I started selling water at the local horse racing track. And then I started selling gum in my middle school. And then I started selling graphics and stickers and then t-shirts and hoodies and then sunglasses. So everything has just been, and that was all pre-Babson. So that was without a Babson education or Babson's resources. So, the easiest thing would be launch a Shopify website, set up Printful, which is a third-party app that plugs in so you could have your own t-shirt company. And overnight you can create a t-shirt company or an apparel company that, the products aren't that great, but it'll at least be some sort of platform that you pay $30 a month for to experiment what it's like to run your own shop. And you realize how hard it is. But then also you might realize some things that you're really good at or things you're particularly interested in. And then you can dive deeper down those with your project as the main focus. So then it's so this is how I could do Facebook ads for that specific example, instead of just like learning about Facebook ads for some example feature on that you can't really test.
Yeah. I really love how practical and I think about it. It actually speaks to the idea that I often think about this, that you cannot buy experience, right? I can have the most amount of money or whatever, but I cannot buy the experience of building or acquiring a skill. So I think I really like the idea of how practical your advice is. And it really, as myself, after this episode, I'm gonna go back to this specific part and think about how do I apply that, in bodies of work that are important to me. And I really hope that the audience does too. On that note, what would you say are some of your future plans for Thinkboard going forward?
Definitely. Actually, to pause and compliment, you've put together the best kind of podcast I've seen in a long time, with the like PDF you sent over, the links, the audio visual in the beginning. Like all of that is really good learning for you as a future and current entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, that like you could just set up a Zoom call and we could talk. But like you went above and beyond. And what's cool is you probably had to use Illustrator or some editing.
Yes.
For that. You probably had to figure out how to mix in the audio, and like that's cool stuff that like not everybody knows how to use. And you might take it for granted that like, oh, you just kind of toss this together. But it's like, wow, like this is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So you are learning. I mean, the next thing you could do is like, okay, like let's look at merch, like how can I start pushing merchandise through this podcast? Because, maybe you've got the website, and then it's like, all right, let's bring in other components of this. And I mean, you can just totally use this platform as a learning experience.
Yeah.
And like, what do I want to learn how to do? Like, do I want to learn, how to get this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts? I think you already do. Yeah. So like, cool, check, like know how to do that. Like, do I want to learn how to, sell and, buy random products and like get people to purchase?
Yeah.
Boom. You can set that up. Like you've got this platform that now you can introduce that. Yeah. So there's a lot of cool things that you can use this platform to launch off of and learn from. So pretty cool. Anyway, future of Thinkboard. That's always a difficult question, especially because I don't really know the future of my life yet. And what's interesting is I used to have a lot more structure in my life, 6, 12, more actually before COVID. So pre-COVID, there's a lot more structure going on. So it's a lot easier to, project like this is where things are headed and whatnot. And right now, as I mentioned earlier, the ambiguity of like not really knowing what's next for me personally has allowed me to have the like most insane like personal life just going, week by week or month by month. Yeah. Like I know what May looks like, but I don't know after that, which is super uncomfortable, but super exciting at the same time. Because I know that my May version of Hanson is going to pick the coolest, most relevant, and best opportunity for my June Hanson. And so that's kind of how we've been treating the business all along, even though we do have like plans for like what's coming up. Yeah. But it's always like, that seems like a really cool opportunity. Like the face shields, like that was a 4-day thing. It was prototype, sample, post on Facebook, start selling. Like boom, 4 days. So like we never could plan for that. And so like a lot of the stuff that we do, it was like, I have no idea how it comes about, but like it just starts happening and it starts going really well. Yeah. We definitely want to focus more on schools. We feel like there's a huge opportunity to help a bunch of schools and make good money on it. Yeah. The cool thing about our school product, it's a resurfacing product. So it goes over old chalkboards and old whiteboards. Yeah. And it's this, we sell the product for the same price that we sell on the website. Yeah. But for schools, they save about 90% of the costs of a whiteboard replacement. Wow. So it's like super win-win because like we don't have to discount our product. We still get our margins and we can sell hundreds at a time to a school. Yeah. And we've saved Babson over $500,000 in whiteboard resurfacing. Wow. We've saved other schools a comparable amount, but that's what I love about that side of the business is it's very social, but also still super profitable. Yeah. So there's a lot of public schools in the US and internationally that can benefit from the product. And it's just about finding the right schools that are in that like transition to change from chalkboards to whiteboards, or they're just going to drill more whiteboards over their old whiteboards that aren't erasing anymore. And we can fix that. Or like the whiteboard paint they're using is chipping off and not erasing. We can fix that as well. So that's one area of the business that we're going to start doubling down on. We just hired a new person for the team. We've always had like part-time people. We've got another member of the team full-time now. So that's exciting and helping Ken and I stay more accountable. So I don't know what's going to take shape from that, but it really feels like there's this momentum that's shifting. Even though what's weird is even though the sales volume numbers aren't really reflecting like what I'm feeling right now, but I just kind of feel something's happening, you know? So I have my to-do list and I can tell you what's on there and like what we hope to do, but I really have no idea what's actually going to happen. But we're going to keep pushing in the school's direction. Co-working spaces are going to open back up. Offices are going to open back up. Things are going to start opening. And that's kind of like our momentum coming back into like a bigger business than our, recession business.
And then just on a, to kind of shift things here on a personal level, as somebody who's an entrepreneur, as somebody who's trying to lead and trying to put this body of work together, what do you do on a personal level in terms of personal development? What books do you read? How do you keep yourself as an entrepreneur always ahead of the curve or learning something?
Honestly, so the answer is learning other perspectives constantly. A lot of people do that through books and podcasts. I love to do that through conversation. Honestly, learning about, being a ski instructor, whether it's 8 years ago before Babson or, 8 days ago, that's a totally different change of perspective. That's different coworkers that I'm surrounding myself with that are living in a very different world than a Babson student. And I think it's tricky sometimes because as a Babson student or any college student or any person of some level of privilege that's higher than the person's around, like the people around you, it's hard to not stay in that circle because it's really easy for bubbles to form. So constantly jumping out of those bubbles and talking to people from all aspects of life, whether it's international travel or just the person next door. There's a lot of different perspectives that can be learned through conversation. That's for me. A lot of people, listen to podcasts and come up with the same sort of realizations. But then don't have a personal connection to it. So they don't feel it as deeply, in my opinion. But yeah, it was wild coming from, the ski bum lifestyle right into Babson. So my gap semester before coming into Babson, because I came in January, I worked out in Yosemite National Park as a maid cleaning, hotel rooms for 2 months, and as a ski instructor, living in a hostel for 2 months. And both of those really shaped the way I looked at education and the way I looked at my privilege and the way I looked at what I wanted to do with my life. And that tiny 4-month gap of time that I shifted my perspective had me come into Babson and said, wow, I want to sit in the front of the class. I don't care about my grades. I just want to learn what I am here. Like, that's what I'm here to do, to learn. If I want to be an entrepreneur, the grades don't matter as much, but naturally by sitting in the front of the class, paying attention and raising your hand every question gets you an A. So I ended up, graduating with really high grades because that was just my approach. But that was all because of the perspective of like, I don't know if I'm cut out for the corporate world, but like, I just want to learn. And that was something interesting. I haven't quite reflected enough to understand what this past trip that I was on has done for my perspective yet, but I know that stuff's there and stuff's like poking out, and I have these thoughts and I write them down in the same note. And it's like, wow, like things are like things are interesting, and it's great because like in conversations with people, like they'll have one perspective. I'm like, hey, but did you think about this? And they're like, well, like I guess I didn't realize that. And from a political standpoint, that's important. From a societal standpoint, that's important. From a religious standpoint, that's important to understand many different aspects of what's possible. And I think because of that, because I'm so curious about other people's religions and understanding every different aspect, so I'm not going to get fixed onto one track of this is the way, and like everybody who thinks the other way is wrong. Because if you get into that track with any aspect of life, I think that's pretty challenging to then be able to see what is actually going on or where the opportunities lie. So I think having that different perspective on different aspects allows you to see that. Because like, again, bringing it back to Thinkboard, everybody I talk to is like, private schools have money, like go to private schools. But then other people are like, no, like technology's taking over. Everybody's just using iPads these days.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's so incorrect. Like, yes, maybe your son's private school in Boston uses iPads and only iPads, but Charlestown Public School doesn't have iPads.
Yeah.
They don't, and they love our product, and they're still redoing chalkboards to whiteboards. And a lot of people are, schools don't have chalkboards anymore. Those were in the past. Like you'd be surprised. Like a lot of schools have chalkboards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just being able to work with schools in, we work with the St. Louis Public School District. We are working with the Baltimore Public School District, and we work with Boston Public Schools and New York Public Schools. But then we also work with like the fanciest private schools in the country. And it's shocking how different our education system is within that. But if I wasn't bouncing back and forth between them, I wouldn't see, I see other opportunities for businesses in public schools that if you were just in a private school mindset, you would never see. You would never understand why this said product could be valuable in that context, if that's your only context. So that kind of ties it back to why, for me, it's conversations and life experiences that have allowed me to kind of develop where I'm at, I guess.
Which kind of also gets me thinking of how conversations can, and to a large extent, also shapes our perspective. You know what I'm saying? I think of the African proverb, I am because we are. You are as a result, as the quote says, you are the average of the people you surround yourself with, right? Those small conversations in one way or the other do shape the lenses through which we view problems, through which we view our lived experiences. And as I'm thinking while I was talking to you, kind of also encapsulates this idea of the cost of ignorance, right? Oftentimes we have certain preconceived notions about certain views or certain industries, but because that's what we have solidified, our worldview is ignorant of those complexities or understanding the depth, be it people's cultural, ethnic backgrounds, or what people have gone through, or people's views on certain movements, justice causes. So I really like that idea of perspectives and using conversations as a way to infuse some form of personal development. On that note, talking about perspectives and your view of the world, what do you believe is your message to the world?
That's a big question. I think it's hard to sum up in one sentence or one paragraph. maybe one chapter of a book. Yeah. But I think what I constantly am striving to do is to bring joy, simplicity, and peace of mind to those around me. And that comes through, lifestyle, job, finances, relationships. There's a lot of aspects of, I guess, my perspectives that I like to introduce to other people. Like I was talking to my friend on the phone yesterday, and he's talking about getting a new job, but he's dreading. And it's like, dude, you love your life right now. Like you get so much freedom. Like, is that promotion really worth the stress that you're going to be feeling? is that extra money you're going to make worth it for like the activity, the hiking and skiing that you're not going to be able to do because it's and helping be that counter of everybody else saying like, oh no, take the promotion. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. And be like, well, hang on, like consider the other side. And this comes back to the perspectives. Like the happiest people I know are ski instructors. not entirely, but like, I mean, some of the happiest people I've met have been, just random street vendors in Bangkok, or ski instructors in California or New York. I mean, it's not always the super wealthy. I mean, I know people that have millions and millions of dollars, and I know people that have, tens of dollars. And there's not as big of a difference as people think. And so that makes me question, like, do you really want this promotion? Or looking at people's finances and saying like, are these purchases, is this rent, whatever you're spent, like, is this car, is that extra monthly payment? Is the monthly payment to live in Seaport at $3,000 a month versus Watertown at $1,000 a month? Is that extra $2,000? Is that extra fanciness of the place and convenience of location worth that stress that you're not saving and investing when you should be? And maybe that $2,000 a month could go into your savings and investing account, and 500 of that can go to, DoorDash because you have that money that would have gone to rent. Now you can just order your food in, and like, I like to help. I guess so. My message is all of that, but this is kind of the how is like helping people consider the other side of things that they hadn't considered before, and have them think for themselves as to what they should do, instead of just being like, no, like I'm a consultant now. I'm supposed to, live in a nicer place. I deserve this. And that's like a toxic mentality in my mind of like, I deserve this because I worked blah for it. So if that answers that question a bit.
Quite an immaculate answer indeed. And I really am also taking time to actually think about it, to think about, sometimes the importance of having people who just interrogate some of your thoughts or your decisions. I think it's very healthy. It's good for you. And it's good. It's also if it's coming from a place of, I want something that's best for you. You know what I'm saying? It makes it a lot more authentic. It makes it a lot more like this. This is coming from a place of care. As much as it's something I don't want to hear in this moment, but Hanson's approach is coming from a place of genuine care, Right. On that note, how do you believe our listeners and our viewers can stay in touch with the work that you're doing?
Check out our website, think-board.com, or just Google Thinkboard. Add me on Facebook or LinkedIn. There's going to be more to come in some aspects. I don't know what. I'm definitely trying to jump into the personal finance world a little bit, but I don't really want to be a YouTuber. I don't really want to be a blogger. I don't really want to be a financial advisor and charge people money for it. So I have no idea how that's going to take shape. But if you're interested in any of that, like lifestyle design, kind of personal finance, definitely add me on Facebook because that's probably where I'll post stuff.
Wow. All right, guys, there you have it from Hanson himself. Guys, go read and check about him on his social media pages. We will share his social media links and then links to his website once we release his episode. Once again, here at the Leaders Podcast, we believe that as more and more young people go conscious of their unique purposes, as they discover their hidden pearl, they essentially add value to society in the only way they can. Please remember to like, comment, and share with at least 3 people who you believe will find this episode valuable. Once again, thank you so much. Be legendary.